And music, music, music. And let's make sure this part's working. Hey everybody, Zalost here. And we're going to do a couple things today. First, we're going to repair this phone right here. Because as you can see, well, there's a little bit of swelling going on. So that's what this is right here. Brand new battery. Let me know if you guys can hear the music. If you would prefer different music, but this is just some stuff I've got that's it won't infringe copyright. So let's get started. First, we're gonna have to separate the back from the phone. I've already powered it off. I've been letting it discharge for a little bit. We have different things here, but we're gonna start with this. This is kind of like a guitar pick. You can actually use, oh, thank you. You can use this to play guitar, but in my case, I'm going to use it to separate the back of the phone from the rest of the case. This will give us access to the battery. So, just kind of wedge it in, like so. Careful. Just along the edge. Now, I've already done this once before, so there's a reason I'm pressing on the fingerprint reader. Because when I lift it, while carefully making sure not to damage the cameras, it will separate, at least on this model, the fingerprint reader from the rest of the phone. And click. Alright, so just go ahead and okay, good. We got that separated. Now we just I have pressure so it doesn't strip. Come on. Okay, let's get this turned off this time. Okay, now you're shutting down, right? Okay. We can go right back to fixing it. Okay. And then we're gonna click that off. How about this one? All right. Now for this one. This is just getting this cover off that's being a pain in the butt. You guys having fun? All right. Let's see. So you have to remove the ones from the top. Why not remove the bottom ones? Shouldn't have to. Okay. So you got this one out, right? I'm going to take my tweezers, very thin ones, and very carefully take these screws out. Set them over here. Okay. Ah, nice. Okay, let's see. Is the screw coming out? All right, so these screws haven't come out yet. Well, this one might have. Not yet. Come on. Come on. What? Huh. Why is that? You know what? I have some tiny Phillips heads or star bits. Let's see if one of these fits better. Too small. But small is good. Small means I have bigger ones. Alright, come on. Maybe a smidge smaller. I do apologize. I'm just having some issues with these screws. They're being a pain. Should be a T4T or T4. So this should be a T4 right here. There we go. So the provided screwdriver, yeah, pain in the butt. Okay. Now this battery is the replacement I put in a few years ago, right? So I'm going from its 4,500 milliamp hours to about almost 5,000 milliamp hours, which is an objective upgrade. Come on. How on earth did I do this last time? Okay, we'll focus on them in a second. Here in the butts. I'm wondering if there's a booby trap in this. Because they weren't this hard to remove last time. Okay. Don't ask me why, but it wanted me to remove these. I'm following the iFixit guide. I can throw the link in the description if anyone wants to follow along. What did they do? Alright. Now we'll just carefully lift out the battery. And we'll see what else actually needs to be lifted here. Your technology, everybody, glued in place. Because, of course it is. Alright. So, I'm going to carefully slide this out of the way. I really only need... Oh, that was easy to disconnect. Alright. Here's our old battery. As you can see, there's some swelling starting to occur. Not good. Gonna want some flat edge tweezers for this. Alright, so gently lift up on the board the plastic housing here. Easy enough. Same thing over here. Okay. Now we have to get these screws out. There we go. Yeah. Okay, so clearly this was a better screwdriver. Alright. Okay. This one I think has a magnetic tip. Smidge easier maybe. No? Come on. Alright, no. There it is. Screw. Move the old battery out of the way. Sorry to breathe on the mic like that. All right, so. All right. Come on. Oh gods, what did they choose for music? All right. Come on. Let me get my magnifier out. If I can see what's going on here. No, that's coinage. Is it this one with the magnifier? Ah. Been a minute since I've had to use this. All right. Let's take a look. Getting any turning at all? No. Darn it. Okay. This was supposed to be an easy repair. Just pop the panel, but... well, maybe I still can. Do I see where the battery's gonna go? Yeah. Don't want to do it that way if I can help it, though. Come on. Just bite into the screw. Jesus. Where do they make these out of? Tungsten? Well, maybe. Hello, Bidoof. So, here's a fun fact. I prefer to work on Linux issues on a case-by-case basis, and I believe that knowledge should be available to people if they need it. So, I'm also not on Linux Mint. I'm on CachyOS. And I don't really play multiplayer games much, so I don't really have much of an opinion on that. So, you know, your mileage may vary. But welcome to the stream. All right. So where does the battery need to connect? Oh yeah, I switched away from Wayland for that reason. Because I had my own issues with it. Okay, so where are those screws? So, I'm sorry your experience on Linux has been a struggle. Has there been any positives? Ah, I see. Well, everyone's going to have a little bit of a different experience, right? Just kind of depends on what you're interested in and what you're trying to do. And just like with any operating system, it's going to be a little trickier than it would be on, say, Windows, where everything defaults to that because, of course, 90% something of people use it, right? Because it comes with everybody's computer. So the experience is always going to be a little different. Well, I'm sorry that didn't work out for you. And who knows? Maybe it'll be fixed someday. You never know. For me, I focus on gaming, VTubing work, right? So, unfortunately, sometimes, like with anything, it is what it is. And you really can't fix it until it's fixed, or until people can get around to fixing it, because Linux is built by hobbyists, much like your interest in Japanese, right? So it's just a thing that is. And sometimes hobbyists can't always fix every issue, because it's not backed by a big company. Maybe Canonical's pushing it. Okay. You got Red Hat, backed by IBM. Things like that. But there are going to be those outlier cases. It's just a matter of working around it, unfortunately. Because when the world is dominated by a monopoly or massive global control, that tends to make it more difficult for everyone else who doesn't want to be a part of that monopoly, right? For me, I like the choice. Well, I'm honestly not actively pushing Linux that hard. It's an operating system. It works well. Games work well on it. 90% of the library works on it. NVIDIA worked out of the box for me. And my system works well. But everyone is entitled to their opinion, right? I don't know which country you're from, but at least where I'm from, everybody has a right to their opinion. And everyone has a right to believe what they want. Unfortunately, that means that's true on both sides. screws. Maybe we'll try this one. Well, that's pretty much true everywhere, though. But the hope is that someday Linux will have a much closer gap. But I respect your opinion, and I respect your experiences, even if they are different from my own. Because everyone is entitled to that, right? They're entitled to an opinion. Darn it. And I hope this cheap screwdriver didn't strip the screws. Thank the gods. Finally came out. Yeah, I don't remember how I did this last time. It's been like 3 years. Now, I will say that I encourage people to support alternate operating systems as a choice, right? Everybody's entitled to a choice and an opinion. And if that choice doesn't work out, well, unfortunate, but it happens. Oh, finally. Okay, we got this open. Now, I believe that's where the battery connector is. Let me double check. Uh-huh. Okay. So below that. Ah, that's where that goes. Okay. We're going to gently slide this out of the way then. We'll plug that back in a minute. All right, we're in the home stretch, or at least the halfway. Let's get the box open. Sorry that took so long. Those screws were being a real pain in the tuchus. So, old one, 4,500 milliamp hours, right? New one, 4,800 milliamp hours. Well, I will say one of the advantages for Linux is that you can run it on practically anything, including laptops from like 10, 15 years ago, if you want to experiment. I don't actually recommend it as a mainline desktop distro if you're doing anything more than basic stuff, or you've got a dedicated system, right? Because, honestly, the support isn't 100% there for everyone. It's unfortunate, but it's just a factor of life. I wish it were better. I truly do. Okay, so that. Now let's very carefully get the battery back in. Oh, I see how this is going to go. Oh dear. Let's get the adhesive off. Thank you. All right. So, put this down. All right. Adhesive tabs for the battery are in. Let's pop the battery in very carefully. All right. So we're gonna there we go. This will be fun. Okay, so of course, I've had to live with users on both ends. I know how bad it is. I also believe in freedom of choice, so, you know, I think the operating system, you should have a choice on both ends, right? Because, yeah, it's important. All right, let's get this plugged in. Careful. So are you just going around and trying to, you know, reach out to Linux users, talk about your experience? Just out of curiosity. Let's get that touch sensor plugged in. There we go. All right. So that just kind of sits there. Okay. Well, it's always good to hear feedback on both ends because it fills in the gaps for the rest of us, right? Now, there's been toxic marketing on both sides, right? So, you know, a lot of it is reactive because people get upset. Maybe they have bad choices. Maybe they have bad experiences. Maybe they just prefer their operating system of choice. Maybe they're just supporting a big company who makes that choice and they want to stick with it, right? Good for them. But not everybody has to agree, right? Yeah, there are places in the world where, you know, it might be cheaper to get a Windows laptop than a Linux one. The nice thing I will say about Linux is that you can run it on largely anything, including the space station. Fun fact, that one's actually the ISS, at least until it burns up here soon, is running on Debian Linux. They did that because there was an incident where a cosmonaut unintentionally brought up an infected laptop. And of course, they couldn't install the latest Windows on the space station because it was too old. So they went with Linux because, well, one, they have years of experience with it, but two, they were able to easily get it set up for the hardware. That's one of the perks. So I would call that a plus, right? All right, so we'll do it quick. Power on self-test. Hey, battery works. Woo! We're gonna let that finish up. Then we're gonna turn it back off once it finishes booting. Yeah. Upgrades. But yeah, my perspective, honestly, I think a lot of it is just reactive because Linux has been put down for so long, right? So it's been just make sure that's working. Okay. So, good. It all appears to be working. Power pack off. Finish the installation. Alright. So, battery install's good. Let's just kind of get this put back together. And yeah, it's definitely an experience. And everyone's going to have a little bit of a different one. So here's a question. Have you ever had something stop working on Linux, on Windows, right? Because an update broke it, or, you know, maybe it's no longer supported. An application like an old copy of Photoshop, for example. Or, let's say, I know this happened on Mac a few times, but let's say it's a piece of mission critical software, right? Have you ever had that happen? I have a few times with some of my favorite classic games, where for whatever reason, the latest version of Windows broke it, right? Like they no longer supported 16-bit installers. And that was on Windows? That's gotta be annoying. Now see, for me, I had some classic games go wrong, right? First it was the installers stopped working because they stopped supporting 16-bit installers as of Windows 7. Then, I had a bad experience with Microsoft tech support, right? Where they accused me of using a pirated version of Windows when I had the disk, the key, pictures of proof. So, back in 2018, so almost 8 years ago, I finally made the jump. And yeah, I'm not gonna go all Linux evangelist on it, but for me, that was just a really bad experience. And I went ahead and made that switch, and I've been on it for nearly a decade now. Didn't cost me anything to switch. My hardware just worked out of the box. Again, your mileage may vary. But the fact that it all worked... Yeah, exactly. And the fact that the live CD worked out of the box, right? And then it wasn't very difficult to switch when Steam released Proton. Because all of a sudden, a lot of my games were working. And I had less hassles, right? Like, yeah, the anti-cheat thing, I guess if you're big into multiplayer, that's a pain in the butt. But I like a lot of single-player games, right? So that's not gonna be a hill I'll die on. That's for sure. It's not gonna stop me either from playing like games on Linux though. Because again, it just works. And that's been my experience going forward. Okay. Let's make sure the back sticks on good. But that was my main reason for switching. Combination of wanting more control and not wanting to have to fight a system that clearly doesn't agree with me. I mean, I can customize my user interface 10 ways to Sunday, make it look like anything. Tron, Star Wars, anything. One thing Windows has done is they've taken that away, especially in Windows 11. See, and that's a very valid perspective, because everyone's workflow is going to be a little different, and not everybody can make that switch right now. Their applications are sometimes broken. Again, not their fault, just a fact of life with it. And, you know, there are hassles, right? Let's get the SIM card tray back in. Oh, is it the other side? It is. Gotta make sure that's in. Don't want my SD card to not be in there. That could be a pain in the butt. Have you tried just running them in Wine by themselves? Or in Proton? Because I've got my VTubing application here. VNyan doesn't have a Linux native version. And I'm running it in a version of Proton using, what's it called? Baugus launcher? I think I pronounced that right. And it works pretty well for me. I have to pop them in from the other side, maybe? That's what it is. Can't forget that SIM card. But yeah, one of the nice perks with Linux is there isn't any single solution to a problem, right? Okay. There are multiple ways to solve a problem. And that's one of the pluses. It's that selection, that choice. It just means you gotta tinker with it sometimes, which isn't for everybody. You know? I advocate it mostly for the freedom aspect, right? The ability to choose how you use your computer. Not just, oh hey, latest update added a bunch of AI nonsense, right? Like, I don't need AI. I don't use it. Well, I don't use it locally. I'll use it occasionally for decoding YouTube metrics because that's just a lot of data, right? All right, let's make sure the charging bit works. There's no screws attached anywhere. No hidden surprises. No. All right, got the charging cable. This one? Yep. Okay. Aha. Exactly. That's exactly it. You know, you are completely correct. So, I have a friend who is an artist, right? They do a lot of graphic art. They use Adobe. They could never switch to Linux because their tools just don't work on it, right? Sound familiar? Here's the thing. I tried to tell them about open source alternatives, right? We talked about it at length. Problem is, they have their workflow, and they don't want to give up that workflow or consider an alternative. You know what? That's okay. What's important is that people can use the computer how they want. So, I gave it a shot. I thought about their issues. I talked to them about it at length. And yeah, sometimes it just doesn't work. But you know what? I tried. And they tried it. And some of my friends tried it, and some people were able to switch more than others. Some were programmers, so it was easier. Others were gamers. They found more helpfulness on Linux than on Windows, right? Nice. This is what I want to see. Let's make sure that this thing is working here. So, last thing, because I did disconnect it, I'm going to make sure the fingerprint reader works. So we'll let this boot. Test the fingerprint reader. Worst case, I have to go in and reseat it later. But the battery works. Repair works. That was the plan. Plan was successful. Right? Okay. Even if it was a hassle for a minute there, I was able to get the battery replaced. Okay. And that boot up is already faster. That's a plus. But anyway, getting back to my story. So this friend had a struggle, and what we ended up deciding on was that, yes, GIMP and Inkscape and all that are very good tools, but the problem is that there are certain workflows that they need to work a certain way because they've trained themselves to use it, and they don't want to relearn it. So and close it out. And test the fingerprint reader. Huh. It's working. Cool. Okay. I'm going to let that charge. All right. So we're going to stop the music because we're going to switch modes here. Oh yeah. Okay. Now we're going to open RollerCoaster Tycoon. And that's the truth, right? That's completely valid. Right, because they're not getting paid to work on it. That's just going to be a fact of life. But the good news is, right? I'm just going to switch this over. The nice thing about that, you know, is that people have that choice. That's what I've been getting at. And while not everything open source is as polished as proprietary, they at least try. You know, it's not just one and done. It's constant effort. Okay, so we're switching over to game mode. We're gonna do Bumbly Beach this week. And it's a 2-year stream, so we spent an hour, we did a repair. Awesome. Now we're gonna see if we can complete this. Have 750 guests. in your park at the end of October, year 2, with a park rating of at least 600. Okay. But, I wish I had a better answer for you, man. I mean, like I said, I advocated for it because of choice. And to me, choice is important. But, again, when you've got one system dominating the market, that kind of removes that choice. That's why Proton exists. And surprisingly, the reason a lot of those tools don't work is because they use certain types of DRM that can be interfered with by the alternatives or the compatibility libraries. For example, the same reason the anti-cheat stuff doesn't work as well, right? Because it needs certain levels of access that Windows provides it, but not Linux. So because of that, the anti-cheat doesn't work because it's looking for something it can't see. And while I'm not against anti-cheat, anti-cheat's useful, right? The cause is well known. And it's just that people are so used to things working one way, when in reality, they need it to work 2 ways. Let's adjust that a little bit. Get this to... There we go. Okay. So, with Adobe, the DRM kind of prevents Linux from letting it run even in Proton, which means your tools won't work. And while there are sometimes options in DRM to support things like Linux, some companies don't turn it on, some just don't care, some don't invest in it, because they don't see the market share is big enough. But it's growing, right? Like, for example, the recent Steam hardware survey had a market share, there's already one here, of, I think it was like around 4% now for gaming. 20% of that was Arch Linux derivatives. And what that ended up doing, I'm going to put this slide over here, I think, is, you know, with all these things going on, what ends up happening is people go and they try to make those changes only to realize their stuff doesn't work, and they keep expecting things to just work out of the box when it won't, right? Because you need these compatibility libraries, and these companies don't want to support it. So there's a bit of friction there. That's been a major hang-up for people trying to make the switch. I wish it wasn't so, but there's not really much we can do about it right now. And as much of a hassle as it can be, you know, I would like to see more people on Linux, right? Because giving people the right to choose, to me, is important. Allowing people to reuse their systems longer is important. Right? There are pluses. Even if the drawbacks can be an annoyance, those positives to me are well worth it. But that's just my opinion. Let's make a nice little food court. Not true anymore. Fun fact about that. Used to be true, right? Ages ago. But things changed at some point. I don't remember exactly when, but at least in the last few years, right? Good example in your case would be when, with Wi-Fi drivers. Okay, good example. Wi-Fi drivers used to be a real pain in the butt, right? Put these down here. because you had to use something called WPA supplicant to get them working, right? To get the Windows drivers running in Linux, because there just wasn't any Wi-Fi drivers. This changed when, let's see if I can remember what happened there. So this all changed when the system, right, when people started incorporating Wi-Fi drivers into the Linux kernel, which allowed those things to now exist natively, as they do today. This is not always going to be true, but, you know, it is a plus, right? And NVIDIA drivers, right? Like AMD drivers in the kernel. NVIDIA provides a binary. A lot of distribution managers build that in, right? But that won't always be the case. Sometimes there's some weirdness. Maybe NVIDIA has a bug, and the kernel maintainers can't patch it because it's proprietary. And that's exactly the case there, where proprietary is actually hindering Linux to a little bit. So, much as I wish it were different, sometimes that is just what it is. Let's put some path stalls down here. Benches, maybe. Put trash can here. Another bench over here. Trash can. Trash can. Trash can. Trash can. Nope. There. Okay. So I've got my food court laid out. Now, like I said, used to be the case. The fact that things are changing is always a net positive. And we probably will see, you know, still some hassles, right? While the world changes, you know, to support things more neutrally. Can't hear me at all. Okay, hang on. That's weird. Let me check something. No, that all tracks. Give me just a moment. Okay. You know, without understanding the developer's motivations, I do not have a good answer for you, unfortunately. But yeah, sometimes that just happens, right? Like, projects die. It's unfortunately the trade-off with open source. As much as I wish it wasn't. There we go. Make that look nice. So that's how we do it. Okay. How does that look? Maybe I should go that route. Yeah, that looks nicer. Okay, we'll go that route. Yeah, we'll leave that as is. Okay, let's get some janitors around here. This is actually a great example of an open source game, right? So the original RollerCoaster Tycoon was closed source. What I'm playing here is actually a source port called OpenRCT2, which allows me to, one, run it natively in Linux, and two, allows me to get improved graphics resolutions, actual weather effects, night and day. In fact, if I go to options, right, I can adjust the window scale, I can change the color. In fact, I've made this one match my streaming UI. Set to software OpenGL. You can turn on multi-threading so things don't lag. I mean, heck, look at my FPS. It's like sitting up around 1,000. Which should be fine. But like, if I go to here, right? You can turn on lighting effects. You can render weather or disable it. Things you couldn't do in the original game, right? But the program is open source. Let's throw a bathroom down here. I can't believe I forgot that. Ah, throwaway. Perfect. Maybe I will move some stuff. And we'll bring this down. And then what we can do is this. And then I just close and move the kiosk. Then raise these two bits here. Okay, and then we'll throw some flowers in here. That looks nice. Okay, so now I can build out the food court a smidge more too. Yeah, that's a big one. Nobody likes giving up control. And now, you don't have to make things open source to make them run on Linux. That's actually an interesting distinction there. Case in point, look at Steam. Steam is not open source, not the client anyway. But it runs in Linux and allows people to run a lot of proprietary software in Linux. Look at Limbo, another big game, not open source. I think the only thing we really want as Linux users is for them to give us some consideration, right? We would very much like it if we could be considered rather than just outright ignored. And unfortunately, at the moment, it's usually the latter. I, for one, couldn't care less if a game was running, like, native is obviously better, but I would be fine with it running in Proton as long as they actually gave us some consideration at all. What they're doing right now is the opposite. Which, as a Linux user, can be a little frustrating. Look for a nice tree for over here. Something tall. There we go. Yeah, that'll be fine. I can expand that out as I build. Okay. Like that maximum funding. And then give me some coasters for the minute. Meantime, I'm earning some decent cash. It's already May. Let's need more cash. Okay. Alright, so we're gonna... Okay, so our food court's done. We're waiting on the cash to build our next ride. How much does it cost to get in? Ah. Make it 20. How much are you charging? $4? Okay. Haunted house. Okay. Now, to throw an argument on the other side of the spectrum, I'm also an advocate of right to repair. So, case in point, what I did on stream today, right? I actually sat down and I fixed my device myself with my own tools, right? For about $20, my phone got a small upgrade with an hour's worth of effort, right? So, going rate is about $150 an hour, right? And the biggest hassle was those screws. So let's use that as an example, okay? Let's say I say the labor charge for $150 plus the $20 part. One thing a lot of companies like to overcharge for is repairs, right? So in a perfect world, there wouldn't be an overcharge. There would just be, you know, a set price or something, right? But this isn't a perfect world, unfortunately. Okay, do that. And then there we go. That looks nice. Now, let me ask you a question. What if open source and Linux was as easy to work with as some of the open hardware solutions, right? Where you could just fix it yourself. Just a hypothetical. To me, that would be a much better world, right? But not everything is as cut and dry as that, unfortunately. Oops. Didn't mean to get rid of my flowers. I'm thinking the gray tile might look better. Ah, but not everybody's a mechanic either. Or an engineer, right? So it could be argued that people shouldn't have to fix their stuff unless they, you know, without options, right? So let's say, hypothetically, okay, whatever is causing your FX driver issue were a simple matter of going in and updating one line, just one, to say, hey, this is my hardware now, fix it, right? I had exactly this case with a weird driver bug in Linux years ago when I was starting to get into it. I had a cheaply made third-party, not capacitive, but the kind where you push down, touchscreen, MP3 player. The trick to get it recognized in Linux was to... Right. So the trick was to add the hardware ID to the list of devices in the Linux driver so it would read as a external hard drive instead of some special device. That's all it took. Change one line, add one line, reboot, boom. All of a sudden my MP3 player is working, right? That's not always going to be the case, but sometimes Linux is like that. That is not something, however, you can do in Windows. Or Mac, which is weird because Mac is Unix. But for me, that was one of the first times I was like, huh, that was surprisingly easy to fix. So, there are moments like that. Maybe I'll go with this instead. Yeah, maybe the low wall's better here. But that's a great example where open source specifically, not necessarily Linux, was actually a plus. Not saying it's always like that. Gods, I wish it was. But there are those moments, right? So, that just looks better. Oh, good. I've got enough now for the coaster I want to put in. Yeah, that'll work. Then I can just run the path along. So, some of it's ideology, right? Like, people want to make things open source because maybe they support the whole idea of it. Maybe they just want to go ahead and make it available to other people, right? If it's already freeware, it's not really a big leap to make it open source. You're not exactly saving any money making it closed source versus open. Maybe it's the fact that they want to... Oh, well, why they wouldn't want to. So, you know, I don't think there's a good answer for that. Like, I would make it open source because it means if I can't solve a problem with my limited skill set, but of course I'm biased, I'm not a programmer, I could crowdsource that fix, right? Let the community try to fix it, say, hey, I need some help with this, here's the source code, what can you come up with? And they in turn could solve that problem, right? But it's like you said, it's a privacy thing. Maybe they just want to hold on to their code, right? So they make it closed source, they put it under certain types of copyright to prevent that from being used or changed or forked. So they hold on control. And again, it's their right to do so. They wrote the code, it's their project. But what that won't stop is someone coming along and making an open source alternative, right? Sometimes people will do that. And so I think that's the main reason, is just either people don't realize that, they want to stick to certain types of copyright, or it's a matter of control over their vision, their software. Because, there are people out there that intentionally also, like, they'll take an open source project, use the code in something, and then maybe they'll make a big profit from it, right? That's actually happened before. I don't remember exactly where, but I know it's happened before. Hey, bud, let's get you back on the path. I'll drop you in the food court. Now, there could be other reasons, you know. Maybe someone just, they don't want to. You know, it's their choice. But I think the main reason is still just going to be control over the property, over the concept, and that's fine, right? Again, that's people's prerogative. So, sweet. One thing I have noticed is that sometimes freeware developers will change their mind later and open source their software. They have less incentive not to than payware, right? Or um, trial, like giving out trials and then having people pay after something. Like WinRAR is never going to open source itself, but you know they have no incentive to, right? You know, whereas they make their money. But a freeware developer, like I said, there's a bunch of different reasons. The main one being just holding on to their source code, their proprietary concept. At least that's what I think. Okay. Let's see what we can do for a steeplechase. You know, I'm not actually sure how I feel about it because Rust, as I understand it, is more efficient memory-wise, right? Better at memory allocation. So, in theory, it could make Linux run faster. And I know that the White House, a year or two back, wanted to advocate for Rust over C++, right? But at the same time, I'm not a programmer. I don't really have an opinion either way. I think a more egregious change would be if Linux kernel started being updated the way Windows is starting to, where they're having AI write the code instead of people. See, I think that is worse. A change in the programming language, especially for a programming language that's very old, like, God, it's going on 50 plus years old right now. The, for one that's more efficient and possibly better structured, could be good. I do think it could also break stuff. Mostly old stuff, but it could break stuff. And that's not a good thing. But as long as we're not having AI and vibe code and all that stuff happen to make it worse, I think we're going to be okay. I'm open to the possibility of Rust improving the kernel, is what I think. If it proves to be bad, I'll just use an old kernel until they fix it. That being said, Linus Torvalds probably would know better than me about how that could be good or bad. Okay, so I'm at 541 guests. My goal is 750 at the end of year 2. I need to get more rides built. Let's get this done. Put on a couple bathrooms. Maybe another info kiosk over here. Why do you think Rust might be an example of something bad for Linux? Okay. Move that over there. All right. So we've built out the park a bit. Things are looking good. Are people still happy to get online for this one? No, surprisingly. Why? Ah. So, I dropped this down to $2. And we'll get some more handymen about.
Is that a spider?
Excuse me. Oh, that's what I want to see. Okay. And then we'll just loop this around. Update this to see what it looks like. Still live? Yep. Okay. Good. Alright, so we got this sorted. You know what? I actually could do some more shops and stalls. I'll turn that off for the moment. That finishes at the end of September. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna want to build this out too. I'm thinking right here at the end actually wouldn't be the worst place. Alright, now I'll build this. Give them a nice look at the whole park. There we go. Alright, so then we'll just adjust the height here. Okay, then we go like this. Open this, but set the price to $1. And up. There we go. See, that looks fine. Then we'll just put a small tree out front. There we go. Okay, so we'll put that for $2. Then we'll put down the footpath. Oh. With the entrance. Works for me. What's the latest message? Oh, best value. Nice. We're gonna up this to 25. Ah. We need test results first. Got it. Aha, now people are getting on it. Cool. Let's change one thing. Alright, so we got all that stored away. It's October. We're already there. What's our goal? Park rating is 943. Yeah, this scenario is proving pretty chill. It's actually easier than the last one. Knock-on material. Okay. I'm thinking throw a log flume in here somewhere. Almost enough. Just something about this spot over here that makes it unusually perfect. Okay, so put the entrance and exit here and here. Okay, fine. Okay, so gonna go ahead, set your price to $2, and open it. Good, good. Yes. Good. Let's focus on filling out the food court. Thank you. Okay. Maybe different flowers. These brighter ones might look better. Yes, they look nice. I haven't even expanded into the beach area yet. Let's put on some thrill rides. Need to fill out this side of the park a bit. Yep, we'll wait for the cash to go up. That's a definite maybe. Nice kind of gray tiling there. Excuse me. Alright, so we're halfway through. Got some more of our food court built out. People seem to be enjoying it a lot. Hmm. And what do we put in this middle space? Hmm. How about some trees? Oh, first things first. To $1. Then we'll put some mixed flowers between the two. Hmm. Let's go with this. There we go. Doesn't that look nice? And then we're going to see through rides again because I want to build a fence, something low, like this one. There we go. That actually looks nice. Let's see if I can mirror the food court on the other side. And a drink stall. And a fry stall. Then a bathroom. Then a burger bar. Ooh, nice. And then we'll put this over here for $1. Alright, so. Perfect. Couple more janitors. Yeah, that should be enough. Maybe a couple more mechanics. Hmm. Good. This is what I want. More guests. Then we'll bump this up to 30. Okay. Hmm. Good. I think we're fine leaving the price as is. Okay, good. I want more shops and stalls for the court here. Well, I know the queues are lengthy, but I'm also intentionally trying to bring this up, right? Oh, handyman. Park isn't actually that big. Let's paint this one the same color blue. And I almost forgot the same thing here. There we go. Oh. You have to go along the whole thing. Okay. There we go. Okay. So we're making a profit because I want to put this in as soon as possible. Ah, cotton candy stall. Nice. Hmm. Let's see. There we go. We're going to finish this park soon, but things are pretty stable here. I'm quite happy with this, and this is the last beginner park, too. Do I want to expand out to the beach? Maybe. I don't know. There we go. Yeah, see, I like how this is laid out. This is nice because it's big, right? And it's like a reasonable sized food court, tons of people around. I think I'm going to have Handyman 2 be dedicated to this food court. There we go. And we'll just plop you down here. Now we have a dedicated handyman for the food court. Nice. Okay, we'll bring this down to 50 cents. How much are you charging? Okay. The rest of this is fine. What about the slide? Too much? Yep, okay, we'll bring it down to 50 cents. Alright, 50 cents it is. Come on. There we go. That's what I want to see. I wonder why there's no weather. Interesting. There we go. See how this ends up looking. Yeah, I've got this win pretty much in the bag. Now what are you going to bring me? Only got 2 more stalls to worry about. There we go. Interesting. The lights in the front there. Okay. People seem quite happy here. I want to at least complete my food court before the end of year 2. To me, this matters. Yeah, I know the queues are long. I don't care. Let's throw some of these down. There we go. That should help a bit. Not a cost thing. Ooh, a balloon stall. Perfect. Okay. We'll put a second one opposite of it. Random color, please. A little bit of asymmetry never hurt anyone. Happen to like asymmetry. $9.83, nice. I should be fine with like a central food court here. This scenario is pretty relaxed. There we go, finally some freaking rain. Look at all the umbrella colors around. That's cool. Yep, random color. Okay. Handyman. Get to work. Another bathroom down over here. And then put down some benches. Trash cans. See if that helps any. Okay, so we got that sorted. Shop stall, we'll have it done 20th of June. And the last feature here. Wait, what? Hold on. Oh. Oh, that's cool. Oh. Didn't know I could do that. Okay, so I can't make you let go of the bloom. That's fine. Pop. Okay. Pop. Hmm. Almost time for that last ride, huh? Let's go for a roller coaster for the last one. Maybe some thrill rides. Yeah, surprise me. Give me something I can throw down. Ah, souvenir stall. Perfect. In which case, those. Move cotton candy over here. Kind of separate the food stalls a little bit. There we go. That way, I can have stuff along here that'll fit. Perfect. There we go. What does this offer? Umbrellas, among other things. Hmm. There we go. Food court is done. Let's just throw up a low wall here. Like this one. Okay. See, that looks nice. Hmm. Yeah, 5,000 of that loan. And let's see what people think. Hmm. Nice. So yeah, this was a pretty straightforward and easy scenario to play through. Hopefully, you guys found it entertaining. And, thanks to the repair, I was able to pad it out a little bit to about 3 hours. Hopefully. 2.5, 3, closer to 3. Okay, so... Any more balloons floating away? No. Huh. They're keeping a good handle on their balloons. Cool. Let's see. Ah. Then we're going to hide that. Good job, handyman. And I'm probably going to want a few more benches along here. Okay. So now... Clean that up. Okay, so we got that sorted. Got our food court built. We're just waiting at the clock now. Ooh, bumper cars. I'll see if I can stick it right there. That'll be perfect. Or maybe over here. That'd be kind of cool. Kind of fill in the space a bit. Oh, nice. Okay, now where do I want to put this? Put it here. Or do I want to stick it over here? I think over here might be better. I can stick the exit over here. There we go. That'll make it $1. And this gives me a nice area to set up some stuff to make it look nice. There we go. And we'll throw up a low wall again. There we go. That looks nice. Mechanics might be getting overwhelmed. Okay, so what are you researching next? Another small rat I can cram in here somewhere. Be cool. Let's paint it red. There we go. Huh. Thank you, mechanic man. Okay, so almost there. Oh. Neat. Huh. Pop. Pop. Alright, we're almost done. Come on. Okay, so nothing really important. I know it's a long queue. They don't seem to care that much, though. There we go. Ah. Okay, so we got that sorted. This all looks good. We've solved our queuing problem, I hope. Got over 1,000 guests with a rating of 996. Huh. I guess it's still going to be a shorter stream. Fine by me. Well, it shouldn't be too much longer. Okay, so anything else I can maybe throw down as a Hail Mary? I don't really have a transport ride need. So I want to go around the park or something. But these are kind of filled in so well. And nobody's really lost, because I've made sure of the map thing. I could throw another down here. That shouldn't hurt anything. Enjoying the coaster, are you? Cool. Yep, more coaster. Welcome to the stream in 8088. We've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5 coasters so far. We're on track to win the scenario, though. Got myself a nice food court here. Done some beautification. Got bumper cars. Earlier in the stream, we did a phone repair that went off pretty well, actually. So I'd call today's stream pretty much a win. More balloons floating off. Here we go. But yeah, now I'm just waiting for the scenario to finish. Nice, nice. Yeah, I'm playing the last of the initial beginner scenarios. So next week we'll start the next level of difficulty, I hope. This one was actually pretty easy. Haven't even expanded across the beach yet. Haven't really needed to. Yeah, I'm actually looking forward to it. Should be fun. Plus, it's a bit of a longer scenario. Another one of those, I think it's like a 3-year scenario. There we go. Everything looks good. People look happy. I'm going to more than exceed the scenario, which is exactly what I want. So, I've been doing some reading about that, actually. I think there is only like a couple year two. There's, let's see, the year 4 I just did, which was Evergreen Gardens. There's the Pyramid one, and then there's the 2 at the end of the game that are year 4. The rest are 3 years. Hmm. Yeah. Oh God, the expansions. I haven't even thought about them yet. They have a whole host of victory conditions that are different besides year 3, year 4, etc. Like coaster with minimum excitement rating, or like, you know, some of them just until you complete it. I know. Oh nice, I'm gonna get a maze to throw in here somewhere. Where the... Oh, duh. Right here. That gives me an excuse to do this. Oh, really? I thought Rainbow Valley was just end of year 3 or 4. With, like, minimum requirements. Hmm. Gotcha, gotcha. Well, that makes sense, too. It's pretty far in the difficulty tree, right? So of course it had to be harder. Oh, I see. That would be pretty difficult. Hmm. I think I can put more people in the maze. Really? I had no idea. Interesting. I know for building stuff, there's height limits. Because where I grew up, there was like, the limit was something arbitrary, like no taller than the tallest tree. Oh. Keep that food court sparkling, guys. Now see, that's an improvement. The phone I repaired has now reached 100% charge. I just let it discharge down to about 20%, charge it back out to 100 next couple days. And that battery repair will be broken in. Which is exactly what I want. Safest park? Sweet. Let's see what kind of awards I've gotten. Just safest park. Okay. Alright, we're getting close to the end game now. Oh, I see. So I'd have to go back, maybe. The park with the best food. Yep. Interesting. Best value. Tidiest park. Best value. Safest. Yeah. Cool. Safest park was on April 1st. They played a joke in the park, claiming it's the safest. Hmm. Well, that's a terrible place to get stuck. Alright, so we're just wrapping up the end of the stream here pretty soon. Once the scenario completes, just like the last few. There's nothing really to build here, unless I want to fill in this area with water, which I could. But I'm thinking... Yeah, price is too high. Glitchy balloons are glitchy. There we go. Finally got to pop. Someone's not feeling good. Go to the bathroom, bud. Alright. Getting close. Let's see. Yeah, I could do that. Run some additional casts for that last bit. Park rating is good. It's at 999. Guests are good. And we're gonna win. Cool. Let's put that low, maybe a hedge fence. Hmm. Uh, I'm thinking this coupled with this. Then I gotta decide what kind of wall I want to put up. Build a field of flowers. Why not? It'll look nice. Put a wall along here. There we go. Yeah, it does. Let's see. It's got ice blocks, wooden fences, which, yeah, I think in this case the hedge fits well, though. Up! Hurrah! Scenario completed. Woohoo! Nice. Up, up, up. Okay. So with that, we're going to start wrapping up the stream. Until next time, this has been Zalost, signing off.